Today, I'm reacting to a clip from Antonio Linares, a retail investor with millions of dollars invested in Palantir stock. I've just come across one of his analysis, which I think perfectly captures one of the most important inflection points in Palantir's history. This clip breaks down exactly why Palantir isn't just riding the AI wave, but is positioned to become the infrastructure that powers autonomous enterprises. I'm going to show to you exactly why AI agents represents a huge opportunity for Palantir, break down the ontology flywheel that makes them impossible to disrupt, and explain why this could transform every company into an autonomous operation. Let's dive into what might be one of the clearest explanations of Palantir's AI strategy I've ever heard.
My view is that Palantir is about to go through its second major inflection point, which is about AI agents. So the reason Palantir continues to print wonderful financials is basically the company is continuing to execute on the back of the AIP bootcamp inflection point. So LLMs have made the business much stronger by making it much easier for Palantir to install its software and for making it easier for customers to use, thus delivering more value in less time. But the next inflection point is AI agents, and it comes down to the following. If you think about it in an abstract sense, Palantir's financial performance, its earning power, is broadly tracking the evolution of AI models. Because actually Palantir, when it comes to AI, they don't actually provide the models themselves. This is something people seemingly don't understand. At least it would seem like it on a number of platforms online. Because people are saying, well, what does this company really do? Can't it be disrupted by AI in some form? And here's the thing that people need to understand. In order to use AI across the enterprise, you need to get all of your data together very neatly so that then you can put that data into AI models and then train them to automate stuff. That's the ontology. That's what Palantir refers to as the ontology. I call it a digital twin, which is basically an exhaustive digital copy of your company's operations. Once you have that kind of software, then you can apply AI to any part of your company. And so no, AI can't disrupt it because you need to train AI in the first place with some data. And you just need Palantir's data to apply AI at all. So it can't be disrupted in any particular way just by models in the abstract. You would need, in theory, data about how to build a digital twin and which kind of twin works best for what kind of company. But Palantir has the data. So if anything, AI just makes it easier for Palantir to create, deploy, and maintain digital twins, ultimately delivering more value to customers. So it's really AI is a tailwind for the company. Okay, now when it comes to AI agents, why are they important? Because as I was saying, Palantir's earning power increases as the models get better, meaning that when we have AI agents that are highly capable, all Palantir has to do to become an AI worker factory, so a factory that basically prints autonomous workers that work tirelessly, don't have to rest, you don't have to pay them, they don't band together to see their salaries be increased, etc. All they have to do is plug these AI agent models into their ontology and voila, you have autonomous workers, right? So why is that important? Look, I mean, the valuation is high, yes, but I'm not buying anymore. I made my big investment a few years ago, and I'm not a guy that I don't buy continuously over time. I make a big purchase when I have a conviction and I just let it sit, right? So, but I'm putting my capital at risk at these prices. So if I actually didn't think that the company is worth buying now, and none of this is financial advice, I'm not your financial advisor or anything, but if I didn't think buying the company was worth it now, I wouldn't have my capital staked in this company at 1 trillion times sales. So what I have here is the conviction that actually this increased rate of productization and the improved capability of AI models over time is going to make this a $1 trillion company. Because it comes down to the ontology, as in, can anyone else build an ontology similar to what Palantir's is? Because if that's the case, then there is really no moat. The thesis doesn't make sense, the valuation doesn't make sense. But the valuation does make sense if we have a kind of scenario in which this is a winner takes all. A little bit like has been NVIDIA to date, in that only they were obsessed about GPUs for decades. Suddenly came CUDA along, and CUDA basically exploded the number of end applications, margins, revenue, etc. AIP has been to Palantir what CUDA has been to NVIDIA, except we have additional inflection points. So it's very important to understand what is the power of Palantir becoming an autonomous employee factory. It's basically more broadly It's not just about employees. It's about Palantir's platform enabling you as a company to run a growing volume of your operations autonomously. Because if you think about it, companies today are mostly not people doing very intelligent things. It's just procedural. So it's people watching what's going on and then taking decisions to act based on the information they have from the market. Say supply chains. It's just people checking that the supply chain is going well, operating it, etc. By creating AI agents, what Palantir is really tapping into here long term is autonomous enterprise. Meaning, that's self-explanatory. It's a company that runs itself. And it's interesting because once a company runs itself, humans will be focusing on other value creation activities, right? But if you think about autonomous companies, it's something like electricity in the sense that if you switch electricity off today, you can't compete. Once there is an autonomous company in your sector, you can't compete with it unless you have autonomous operations too, because there's a flywheel. As an autonomous company operates over time, this generates more data, which helps you train better AI models, which leads to higher levels of autonomy, which lead to higher levels of efficiency, which in theory free up more capital for you to reinvest in the infrastructure and ultimately make your AI models better, reach higher levels of autonomy, etc. So it's a little bit like it's a flywheel like what we've seen in platforms of Web 2.0. Say Uber, stuff like that. The bigger you get, the more data you have, the harder you are to disrupt. So basically, Palantir is giving any company that sort of flywheel. And if you don't have a similar flywheel, and your flywheel, if you do have one, is not spinning as fast or as efficiently or as reliably, then you can't compete. So the point is that the competitive dynamics that we've seen in the internet over the past 2 decades are now coming to any company with Palantir software. Enterprise autonomy is so important because it's basically electricity 2.0. Sounds a little bit like a fairy tale. Okay, sounds a little bit like science fiction. I'm aware of that. But if you go and review the Q1 2025 earnings call, Palantir CTO Shyam Sankar already talks about this. He says that customers are automating a growing volume of their operations, including he actually mentioned an insurance company that had automated underwriting and stuff like that. There's no limit to what you can automate and how much you can automate it. But what I want to convey today is the importance of that flywheel and how it changes competitive dynamics in the marketplace. Everything now becomes a matter of network effect, as in the bigger your network, the more data you generate, the better AI models you have, the more automation you have. And if you don't have a flywheel like that, you can't compete. So what's happening is that Palantir has gone from being a data science kind of company to essentially creating this ontology whereby as better AI models come along, the capabilities of the platform increase exponentially without them increasing costs. That's why we are seeing their rule of 40 grow exponentially and coming in at a number which is way beyond any other world-class software company. Because the operating leverage this situation is yielding, the fact that no one has a digital twin like they do, because they've been doing it for 2 decades.
That was absolutely excellent. If you haven't heard of Antonio Linares already, please do check him out. I have linked his channel below. That clip explains Palantir's competitive advantage better, to be honest, than Palantir often does themselves. Let me break down 3 of the most important insights from what we've just heard, because I think this does change everything about how we should think about the future of Palantir. Quick plug, I help businesses grow using YouTube. One law firm I worked with made hundreds of thousands of dollars in the first 5 months after launching their channel. I currently have space to work with just 3 more law firms. If you own a firm, you might be missing a huge opportunity on YouTube. Book a call using the link below to learn more. Palantir is becoming an AI worker factory, not just a software platform. Antonio just explained that when we have AI agents that are highly capable, all Palantir had to do is become an AI worker factory. All they have to do is plug these AI agents into their ontology and voila, you have autonomous workers. Antonio describes these as workers that work tirelessly, don't have to rest, and you don't have to pay them. This is a fundamental shift in how we should think about Palantir's business model. They're not just organizing data anymore, they're creating the infrastructure for autonomous operations. Every company using Palantir's ontology can instantly deploy AI agents across their entire operation once those agents become capable enough. This means Palantir doesn't need to build the AI models themselves, they just need to integrate whatever models emerge from OpenAI, Anthropic, or others. It's like having a universal adapter that can plug any AI advancement directly into a company's operations. Palantir's ontology creates an unbreakable competitive moat. Antonio stated, you need to get all of your data together very neatly so that then you can put that data into AI models. That's the ontology. That's what Palantir refers to as the ontology. Antonio calls it a digital twin, which is basically an exhaustive digital copy of your company's operations. Antonio emphasizes Palantir has a unique advantage here. They've been doing this for 2 decades already. This is why Palantir can't be disrupted by new AI models. Everyone focuses on who's the best LLM, but they're missing the point. You can't deploy AI agents without first having a perfect digital representation of your operations. Palantir has spent 20 years perfecting this ontology across government agencies, defense contractors, and enterprises. Building a competing ontology isn't just technically difficult, it's practically impossible because you need decades of operational data and integration experience. It's like trying to compete with Google Maps by starting from scratch. The advantage Palantir has here is virtually insurmountable. Autonomous enterprises will create winner-take-all market dynamics. Antonio explains that once there is an autonomous company in your sector, you can't compete with it unless you have autonomous operations too, because there's a flywheel. As an autonomous company operates over time, this generates more data, which helps you train better AI models, which leads to higher levels of autonomy. Antonio calls this electricity 2.0 and says, if you don't have a similar flywheel, you just can't compete. This is the most important point of understanding Palantir's long-term opportunity. We're not just talking about better software, we're talking about a fundamental change in competitive dynamics. Once the company in a sector achieves autonomous operations through Palantir, every other company either adapts similar technology or gets left behind. It's like when companies had to adopt email and websites to stay competitive, except this is far more dramatic. The flywheel effect means early adopters get exponentially better over time, creating massive switching costs and network effects. Palantir isn't just selling software anymore. They're selling competitive survival in an autonomous economy.